This is a brief explanation of how the power struggle mini game works, how you resolve the situation which is triggered by this type of cards here, the scoring cards. When that card is played, you deal cards to the players, drawing them from this special deck here, which is used only for the power struggle. You deal 6 cards to each player for the first location in the country where the struggle is happening that they control, and 2 extra cards for each other location that they control in that country. For example, you control 3 locations, then you have 6, 2, and 2 cards. You will have a total of 10 cards in your hands, and it may happen the player will not receive the same amount of cards. Next, the player with the initiative, which is the player that started the struggle by playing the scoring card, that player can choose to raise the stakes by discarding 2 cards from his hand. If he does so, then there will be a bonus of +1 for the winner of the struggle when rolling on the support loss table and the victory points table that I show in the main review of the game. However, these benefits go to the winner, and the winner may or may not be the same player that raised the stakes. You raise the stake and then the opponent wins the game, then the opponent benefits from that. After the initiative player decides whether or not to raise the stakes, then the other player may do the same by discarding 2 cards. So there may be a maximum of +2 and +2 on the die rolls at the end of the power struggle if both players decide to raise the stakes. The deck for the power struggle contains 4 main suits: strikes, marches, rallies in the square, and petitions. There are also different types of leaders: elite leaders, worker leaders, student leaders, church leader, and intellectual leader. Leaders may act as wild cards that can match any type of suit if you control the type of space associated with that leader in the country where the struggle is happening. If I have control of the elite space in the country where we are resolving the struggle, then the elite leaders are wild cards for me, otherwise they're completely useless cards. And then you have wild cards that can be played for the printed effects, and these cards have different types of effect. A pretty interesting one is this: remove 1 opponent support point from the country. So if you play it, it may be that by removing an opponent's support point, you will be able to make the opponent lose control of one of the key areas on the board, and that means that maybe some leaders that could have been wild cards during the struggle become completely useless cards because the owning player does not have control of that area anymore. So this is a very mean card to play, but it is very effective, so I suggest you try to use it anytime you can. If you play against me, I will use it anytime I can, so you have been warned. Anyways, the cards are dealt, and then the player that started the struggle by playing the card is the initiative player and plays a card from his hand. Usually he will play one of these cards here unless he plays a wild card. But if he plays a suit, suppose that he plays a strike, then the opponent must play a card from his hand that matches that card. Ignore the number here, only the type of suit is important now. A strike must be responded to with another strike, or with a wild card uses a strike, or also there is this other wild card here that allows you to match any suit. If the defender is able to match the card played by the opponent, well, that's it, that's great. That attack was stopped, and then these 2 cards are discarded. But before that happens, the defender that managed to successfully defend gets a chance of stealing the initiative from the opponent. To do so, the defender rolls a die and must roll the number printed on the card of the attacker, or, well, match the number or exceed it, so 4 or more. In this case, the defender was able to steal initiative. These 2 cards are discarded, and now the defender will play a card from his hand, and now it is suppose this is the card, and now it is the opponent that must play a card to defend against that. Suppose that the opponent has control of elites, no marches left in his hand, so he plays the elite leader as a march, but then he has to roll a 6, and that doesn't happen, so in this case the attacker still has initiative. Also, the attacker now knows that the defender doesn't have any marches anymore. Why would have the defender use a leader otherwise? So the attacker may try to capitalize on that information. And the power struggle continues like this for several rounds. The attacker launches attacks by using cards, and the defender must defend, again, by matching the card that was played. The game continues until the defender cannot defend against the card of the attacker, and at that point the struggle is over and the attacker wins the struggle. The defender cannot win the struggle. The defender can only defend and try to grab initiative, and once the defender has initiative and becomes the attacker, then he gets a chance of winning the game, of winning the power struggle. So the defender can only, well, defend. Also, if the attacker does not have any card that is playable, maybe the attacker has no cards left at all, or the attacker only has useless leaders, then the attacker loses the power struggle. Once the power struggle is over, well, the winner gets to roll on the support loss table and the victory points table that I show in the main review of the game. But if this struggle was ended by playing one of these two cards, then there is a modifier on the die rolls on the support loss table and victory points table. +2 if the struggle was ended with a rally, and -2 if it was ended with a petition. That means that if you're trying to win the game, the power struggle, of course, it is good if you manage to win with a well-placed rally in the square, you get +2. This bonus, or this -2, can be combined with the bonus coming from the raising of the stakes at the beginning of the struggle. And of course, again, it is great to win with a rally, but it's not that easy because the number on the rally cards is 1. So as soon as you play that card, if the defender can defend against it, then the defender clearly will be able to roll 1 or more, so you lose initiative immediately. And as the Democrat player, you should really try not just to win the struggles. Well, that's pretty important, but it may not be sufficient. You need to win the struggle and also to put together good bonuses so that you have good chances of making the country go Democrat when you're rolling on the victory points table. But if the country remains communist, the communist player will score a very good amount of points, and if the country survives too many power struggles, then the amount of points just becomes too much, and that can be devastating for the Democratic player. So this is the challenge for the Democrat player. Not only do you need to win the struggles, but you also need to win them well. As a communist player, you need to survive and pretty much leave things as they were before, well, the game started, really.